Yo, yo, yo. Hello and welcome to episode 103 of the Lenko show. How are you doing, Chris? You all right?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. How are you?
I feel like we're both pretty stressed after the recent ins and outs of Zoom at the minute.
This is in theory episode 105 at this point.
Yeah, the process of recording this has been quite tricky to start with, but nevertheless, we shall power on. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Do you know what? My training session today consisted of front squats, heavy sets, sets of three, some vertical jumps, sets of three, and resting, sitting on a bike and pedaling at like literally pedaling at a speed where it was like the weight of my leg was what was pushing the pedal down, not me actually applying any downward force. I just did loads of that, like 6 to 8. I think it was 8 sets. That's all it was. And tonight I'll be doing some sprints. It's amazing, isn't it, how effective a small dose training session like that can be.
I like it. Very, very cute.
Yeah, I've had a good day so far. Anyway, we're going to be talking about winning margins today. Winning margins is the main topic. And I think this actually fits in really well with the podcast we recorded last time out, episode 102, which was all about sort of the fragility of success and how easily success can come apart. And one of the reasons I overlooked as to why it can kind of crumble and fall apart is purely this today. Because so often, especially at the top level, the winning margins are minuscule. They are tiny. It's talking fractions. Like, for instance, this season, Man City won the Premier League again. Last day of the season, the last kick, not the last kick, but they've won it on the last kick before, pretty much. And after 38 games, 57 hours worth of football, it comes down to that final little kick. I don't know, do you watch the F1?
No.
Right. I love the F1. Been watching it a lot with Fiona recently. She's got massively into it thanks to Drive to Survive. At the weekend, qualifying in Canada, George Russell and Max Verstappen got the exact same time. 1 minute, 12 seconds, 0.000.
Wow. I feel like you don't really see that very often. But to be fair, I have to agree with Fiona. Drive to Survive got me into Formula One a little bit, but I've ridden that wave now. But yeah, wow. Exact
Yep.
same. What position is that? Is that pole position?
Yeah, that was for Paul. That was for Paul. And it was bang on the exact same time. 112.000.
Wow.
Tiniest of margins. And the only reason that George Russell started on pole was because he did that time first. He did it before Max did.
Right.
So he went to the top, and then because Max then went and matched his time, Max went second.
Has that happened before?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I do wonder, like, could you just line them up next to each other at the start
Yeah.
on race day? Like, that'd be pretty fun. I feel like that'd be deserved. Um, just sit them next to each other on the grid, and then it's just down to who gets the best start. It's guaranteed a crash, but be worth watching. Um, yeah, we're still kind of riding the crest of that. Like I'm enjoying the F1. I do like watching the racing, but I keep saying to Fiona, we need to get a console with like the full racing rig set up. Like I want to do that. That'd just be great fun.
Do you remember when we had one for like the PlayStation 2 and it had the steering wheel? I feel like if you're going to do it, you have to go all the way and you actually have to get a helmet as well.
I could just wear my American football helmet, couldn't I?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
So anyway, winning margins. One of the things that I really kind of sparked this was I actually saw some sort of commencement speech by Roger Federer, and he made a lot of very, very interesting. Like it just made sense, just reads so well, rings true, and you just think, shit. Like as an athlete, as a coach, like we say winning is everything. It's in the details. It's everywhere. Like for instance, the football season, at the end of the season, everyone will try to analyze it and go, was that the moment? Was that the moment that cost them the title? Was that the moment that won them the title? And ultimately, it's really, really hard to define a particular moment, a particular goal, a particular I don't know, a bit of luck, refereeing decision. It's not easy to do that because normally there's so many other little things that underpin it. So like winning is everything. And in that, you don't realize how often you're actually you're not even winning. You're just doing enough. So we're going to break this down bit by bit because I think there's a lot of really good, interesting discussion points for us to go through. So, what's your thoughts first and foremost on perfection is impossible?
My thoughts on perfection is impossible. I feel like aiming for it is acceptable. Trying to be as good as you can, trying to aim for perfection, but you're only setting yourself up for failure because you are never actually going to achieve it. Like, what even is perfect? And there's always a flaw in everything, isn't there? I know most top sports stars anyway, and even semi-professional sports stars, you want to be aiming to improve all the time. And so even if they did do something what would be subjectively flawless to someone else, it wouldn't be to them. And they'd be like, right, I need to work on this, blah, blah, blah. But I would agree with it. I think perfection is impossible. And, you can maybe, I also think you would need a lot of luck for perfection. I think you could maybe achieve it one time for maybe point one of a second if everything goes your way and you've done everything right. But I think it's part of the human condition that we are not perfect, and therefore achieving perfection is outside of our reach. What
Yeah,
about you? What's your thought there?
I think you see moments of perfection,
Like
like
Rooney's overhead kick against Manchester City.
perfect example. But even then, you could go, well, he shinned it though, didn't he? Now, if you'd have said Garnacho's against Everton, that's a different level. But yeah, you'll get moments of perfection, moments of momentary perfection, and overall, in the grand scheme of things, you want to be riding the win. You want to be the one sat at the top on the crest of the wave, or even just doing enough to keep your head above water to fulfill your targets, fulfill your ambitions, whether it's being top of the league, like because you can't if you were to look at perfection, you go right, we're going to win every game and be leading after 90 minutes. We're going to score on every single attack. We're going to win the ball back from the opponents at the first at the earliest opportunity and every time. So you're going to have nearly 100. What would perfection look like? You think you're going to have 100% possession? Other teams got to touch the ball sometime. You think
Yeah.
you're never going to be out of place? You're never going to be caught on the back foot? It's not going to happen. It's unrealistic when you've got someone who is equally prepared, equally willing, equally disciplined, elements of being equally skillful, equally fast. It's a 50-50 battle a lot of the time. And this comes in really well. So, like Roger Federer, again, go back to that. He said, in the 1,526 singles matches I played in my career, that's a lot of matches.
It's a lot of games.
1,500 singles matches. I won almost 80%. That's a good win ratio. You
It's
know,
not too bad.
4 out of 5, you'd take that. If someone said to you on day one, you start your career right, you're going to win 4 out of 5 matches, deal or no deal, or 100% deal. I'll take
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Um, then he said, but what percentage of points did I win? I'll just give you listening a moment to think about that. What percentage of points do you think Roger Federer won? The
See,
answer,
it's funny because just before you answer that, I feel like people who are aware of what Roger Federer has done, you're probably naturally thinking he's probably won like 90%, like 85, 90%. Like that just makes sense logically. Like with everything that he's won, how many cups, how many Grand Slams, how many matches. Like you would think, right, he must win about 80, 85%, surely.
yeah, you'd think, wouldn't you? Like that was
You-
what I thought. Like when you actually said it, I was like, what? I had to double take, went back and like replayed it 3 times. I was like, is it really that? 54% of his points to be the GOAT, like the greatest of all time. And we're not just talking sort of obviously in tennis, you play against the higher ranked seed you are, you play against the lower seeds, and then you work your way up, and then hopefully seeds number 1 and 2 play each other in the final. And it's an amazing tennis match that everyone enjoys watching because let's be honest, no one really cares about it up to that point, do they? So yeah, for it to, even at that point for the number to be 54%, it's not. Do you know what? It's there's not a lot required to actually flip the script. If you're on a bit of a losing streak, if you're on a bit of a bad run, you don't need as much as you think, most likely.
Yeah, 54%. I think for me, obviously, I think about like with CrossFit athletes, like generally speaking, outside of Matt Fraser, like, and in fact, even Matt Fraser, like a lot of the time, the top athletes, the people that make it all the way through, and the people that end up on the podium, generally speaking, don't really win events because someone who wins an event is someone who is specifically at like adept at that specific test and or whatever that thing's testing, but it means they're not like masters of all the other things as well. So very rarely do you actually win a workout. And in fact, and I know you're not really into CrossFit, but when you look at the top level, the actual CrossFit games, not everyone even finishes it. And this is like the 0.1% of people worldwide make it to the games. And they don't, some of them don't even finish. They don't even finish the weekend. They don't make it, they get injured or something like that. Some of them don't finish workouts. So it just goes to show. And do you know what, as well, Alex? It makes me think about specifically, I know you said it ties in what we spoke about last week. You were talking about one of the Real Madrid players. I've just forgotten his name. I'm just blanked on his name. Um,
Vinicius Junior, was it?
yeah. And you were saying about him taking up the wing and doing the one-on-ones, etc. And he's coming at the defenders, and it's like
Yep.
it got stamped out a few times, but all he needs to do is win one of those one-on-one battles and take it past him
Yep.
and cause him big issues, and that's it. Like you wouldn't even need a 50% for that. You need a 10%. And if you get through one times out of 10 and you end up scoring,
And this is the thing. This is where sort of in football you have to think about that situational battle and how you frame that level of perfection. So from an individual point of view, the right back would be looking at Vinicius Junior thinking, right, I've probably got to win 100% of the battles against you in order to stop you from winning this game. Because if I let you through once and you go and score, we're in deep trouble. So unless he's perfect or close, or even with regards to perfection, even if he gets beaten, it's making sure he's not beaten badly. So if Vinicius Junior goes past him, it's making sure he's still close enough and still causing enough of a distraction, maybe even a little bit of a shirt pull, fouling him, being beaten to the point where it doesn't actually harm the team. Does that make sense? So like you can still kind of lose your battle, but still be in control over the bigger picture. For instance, where if
yeah,
it lets him through 1-on-1 and he's clean through, like unfortunately, you then relying on someone else to do the job. And you need that in the team environment. Like if you are going to lose a battle, I always say like you have to win your 1-on-1 first. If you're winning your 1-on-1 and most of the people on the team are winning their 1-on-1, then the moment someone loses one, the people around you are generally able to make up for it and pull up the slack and kind of get you off the hook in a sense. Whereas from Vinicius Junior's point of view, like there is a massive pot of gold at the end of that 1-to-1 battle, and all he needs to do is get past once.
yeah, yeah. And I think when you look at it in terms of like a sport like football and tennis and things like that, in theory, all you need is 51%, don't you? If you're winning 51%,
Yeah,
you'd
it's,
have won
it's,
more than
it's
once.
it's the whole analogy of being the hunter and being the hunted. You know,
Yeah,
like if you're being hunted, you need to win that battle 100% of the time. Otherwise, it's game over. Like you've got to get out of there. Whereas
yeah.
if you're after dinner, if you're working for food, you only need to win once and you're satisfied. So just to frame that, like even the not just even top ranked, but the greatest of all time tennis players win barely more than half of the points they play. And that's it. In a tennis game, all you need to do is you just need to break someone in a set, break them once, win a service game off them, and then win the rest of your games on serve, and you're taken care of. So, and then he kind of frames it a little bit. So he goes, when you lose every second point on average, you learn not to dwell on every shot. How important do you think that is? Like just being able to go, get out the mind, off we go, carry on.
Yeah, because I think especially like when you're a beginner, you are going to lose more often than you're going to win for most people. And again, most people, bit of a generalization, but most people will dwell on that in some way. And when you look at it in terms of something like tennis, it's a numbers game where it's like, okay, that was a bad shot. And then if your next shot's a bad shot, like it's all adding up and it plays on your mind and it affects the next one and then the next one and then the next one and the next one. Whereas obviously you're running out of emotional capacity and cognitive capacity to focus on what you need, what you're doing if you're thinking about what your previous one was. So, and then it all cascades and it all becomes like, they say big compound, big snowball effect. And you just end up playing bad shot after bad shot. Because if you play five in a row and you're dwelling on the last five shots, even though they've got absolutely like no judgment whatsoever on what your next shot's going to be, if your physiology adapts, I was trying to say physiology, adapts and you're in a negative headspace and you're getting angry and you're working yourself up, I think it's literally like, when people play mind games in sports, stuff like that, it's like having that mental victory. When someone loses their head, you've won the game.
Mm.
You'll be here, there, and everywhere. They become so unpredictable and they're no longer leaning on skill, they're leaning on temperament, which at that stage is not good.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my thoughts on that one.
Yeah. We try to kind of emulate a lot of that scenario where we're trying to at training for the Titans with like everyone's constantly chirping at each other, trying to wind someone up, trying to get a bite, trying to get a nibble, because it's very much like ingrained in the way that we play. Like we're going to play the mental game, we're going to play the physical game, we'll do it all. And I think you kind of have to be that way a little bit. And as soon as you kind of lose sight of, if you're off beat, for example, it's very difficult to get it back. Have you had any scenarios where you've just been off your game?
Yeah, I remember vividly playing against. I remember the scenario. I don't remember the team's name, but there was a guy called Sam, and I'm sure he was.
That is one of the most obscure things ever. There was a guy called Sam.
Yeah, no, on the other team, and he'd. Yeah, so I knew him quite well, and he was a very good footballer.
I know you. I know you knew
He,
because he was called Sam.
I'm pretty sure he was at FC United, and then he moved on from there. But he was at this particular moment in time, he was playing for whatever team we were playing against. And he told his team, who, by the way, so this was at Brandos and Warriors. We'd beat this team every year, twice a year, every fixture. And he was playing for them this time. He'd recently moved to them. And we'd always never had any issues. And the difference was a mental attitude. And they were just being knobheads. That's the only way I can describe it. They were dirtier, they were putting in later tackles, they were mouthing off, they were more physical. Um, but they were also being, I don't know how to describe this. The only way I can describe it is like they were deliberately trying to wind us up. Like, even if it was inappropriate, they would do whatever. Like they were blowing kisses at us, pretending to hug us, like talking to us about what we were doing at the weekend, like and like pretending to be friends with us, and then just being like, I don't know how to describe it. I don't know how to describe it. But one of them says to me, this guy that was marking me, the defender, the left back, he was like, "It's Chris, isn't it?" I'm like, shut up. And he goes, you're usually a good player. You've not scored today. It's not been your day, has it? And I knew exactly what I was doing. I knew exactly what he was doing. I was like, mate, I'm all over you. You've got absolutely no chance. I'll score in the next 5 minutes, I promise you. Uh, and I didn't. And they were in our heads all game. Like our entire team were useless. And we lost. I think we lost 4-2. And I don't think we'd ever conceded against him. And it was purely because of the way they were being. Like they weren't a better team in terms of skill level. Like they were just like mouthing off, got in our heads. We were getting angry. I think we had 2 yellow cards, which was unlike us. Um, and yeah, we were just like strappy teenagers, so we lost our heads, and that was it. That was it. And honestly, we come back afterwards, and like I, I don't remember specifically the team talk at the end of the game, but there was a reflection period the following training session, following week, where we were like, what happened there, boys? How was that? How have we just lost these guys? Purely based on the fact that they were just mouthing off and being physical. And it kind of at a time in a moment, and I get most people probably do this, you don't recognize that you're losing your head.
Hmm.
And that's actually what's affecting you. But after the fact, when you read into it and it's like, okay, what went wrong in that game? Well, they were being dirty. What you lost because they were being dirty? No, no, no. They were being dirty. You didn't fucking like it. You didn't do anything about it. You just carried on trying to play your same normal game, expecting the referee to give you decisions, and they didn't
Yeah.
because the reality is, even though they were being dirty, they were still playing by the laws of the game as it stands. And even if the ref isn't on your side, fucking do something about it. Like you can't change it after the fact. So he was recognizing those things
Yeah.
and even fall past them. But yeah, I've got many more examples, but I don't want to waste everyone's time listening to those.
Well, I think it's a good example because I think you always have to, like, if someone rises above you and kind of gets all laggy and in your face, I feel like you then have to go one up above. Like, you can't meet them. You've got to go above and beyond and hope that you don't overstep to the point where you get sanctioned or disciplined by the referee or whoever's kind of in charge. I feel like that's the way that it has to go. So you have to play that game and you have to be good at it. I think from a personal viewpoint, I know I've had situations where I felt like, again, we talk about winning margins. Like when I was playing for Great Britain against France last year, um, there were a few things that I was doing, and it was like they were okay, like they were reasonable kicks. So, like in terms of punting, there was one that I hit. It was a rollout punt, so I ran out to the right hand side, kicked it down the sideline, and I could see like the line and the angle that I wanted to hit it at, and I probably got it out by a fraction. You're talking a couple of degrees, like 'cause I'm already close to the sideline. There's not a lot of space, and a couple of degrees. And if I pulled it slightly further to the left, it probably rolls out inside the 5 yard line and really, really pushes them back. As it is, it ends up around 15 yards from the goal line. So it's you're talking like that couple of degrees worth of angle and change there to be able to maximize your advantage. And they were the fractions. So like in that situation, I was because I'd done a couple of things. Like even in the warm up, there were a couple of things where I was like, "Fuck, like come on, like get in the groove." And I just went through the process of like I very much withdraw from taking care of extracurricular stuff. Go right, focus on this shit, and then the other stuff will come along with it. Like do that afterwards. So it's like I'll stay out longer in the warm up. I'll kick till I'm in the groove, or just find the sweet spot. And as soon as I'm there, I'm like, right, okay, we're good. We can carry on. Same thing in a game. It's just keep chipping away, get the next one right, and build from that point of view. And this is where Roger Federer says, like, when you lose every second point, on average, you learn not to dwell on every shot. You teach yourself to think, okay, I double faulted. It's only a point. Same thing again. Okay, came to the net and I got passed again. It's only a point. And he says even a great shot, like an overhead backhand smash that ends up on ESPN's top 10 playlist, it's just a point. And I think having that mentality of being, you could play the longest point in professional tennis. You could do the most remarkable thing, score the most remarkable goal in football. It's still only one goal. If it puts you 1-0 up, you're only 1-0 up. You haven't won the game. Like it's 1-0. Like that, even though you've done one of the greatest things ever, it's still that margin for error can be taken down by a shitty little toe poke or a mistake from the goalkeeper. You name it, it can be taken away in an instant. It doesn't have a higher value because it was exceptional.
Yeah, and I always think this whenever I'm watching football nowadays. I always think like, and in fact, I've heard this before as well that 2-0 is the most interesting scoreline. Um, but I know whenever you're watching United, it's just like, okay, we need to be 2 goals up because if we make one mistake, which we will do, and we get punished for it, at least we're still 1 goal up. And you just hope that the mistake comes like over a prolonged period of time rather than right now or in the next 5 minutes. No, I agree. And I think what goes with that as well is when you are at higher levels, you'll notice more that you can have good days and you can have bad days. And on sometimes your good days are actually when you feel awful and you don't feel like you're moving very good, and vice versa. Sometimes you can feel like you're moving really, really well, but actually your performance is not as good. And, it's part of the whole being perfect thing. Sometimes things happen, life happens, external factors, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes it's just not your day.
Mm.
Sometimes that's how it works.
And one of the other facts I think comes down to your focus as well. So he goes on to say, when you're playing a point, it has to be the most important thing in the world, and it is. Um, but when it's behind you, it's behind you. And I think he also goes on to say a few other things about sort of he said, when you watch him and it just looks effortless, he just flows and he just glides around the court. Every stroke is just like he's a bit, I don't know, like in terms of his style, he's a purist. Um, and it's just very easy on the eye, nice to watch,
Graceful.
graceful. But he says it really gets to him when people say that he makes it look effortless because he's like, I'm fucking trying. Like I'm putting everything into this. And also like what people don't see is the years preceding the effortless performances where he was getting agitated, swearing, smashing rackets, all that kind of stuff. And then over time he's gradually developed his personality, his mindset. He's got to the point where, he will say this when it's behind you, it's behind you, it's gone. It doesn't matter anymore. Like you can choose how you view the previous point. You can take it with you as extra baggage, extra motivation, put a bit of fire in the belly, but it's no use to you beyond that. There's no point getting angry and upset about it or arguing about it because it's gone. It's 1 point. You might as well
I
just try and win the next one.
think two things to that, like making it look effortless in my eyes is technical proficiency. So it's how well he performs the skills. And when someone's really, really good at something, it goes back to exactly what you said last week. When you master the fundamentals and the foundations, like your movement looks like it flows and it looks like it's effortless because you are focusing on you're in the right positions, creating the right shapes, like the patterns are spot on, and that's why his shots look so effortless and they are so good. Um, and then in terms of like the wins and stuff like that, it's kind of everyone always talks about like, getting those mini wins and stuff, and people talk about the little micro decisions lead you towards your results. And it's something for anyone out there who's an everyday person, whether you're an athlete or not. It's things like, I don't feel great today. Should I train anyway? Like, if you should be training, then yeah, find a way to go and get done what you need to get done. It's should I, get up and go and do this thing? And if you decide no, that's one of those little things that's actually not too important. But you do that once, it's fine. You do that
Mm.
once, twice, three, four, five. It all adds up. And I remember someone saying to me once, imagine that your potential is 100% because it is. You could in theory be perfect if you made all the right decisions all the time and did all the things you were supposed to do all the time. You only get one life, right? And you only get like 365 days a year. You get each day, this day today, I get it once. And if it ends up being a write off, in theory, your potential is now down to 99% because you will never have the chance that you had on that day to make those decisions and do whatever you need to do, whether it's recovery based or something like that, or something where you could have put 20 minutes in to learn a skill, blah, 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 blah. You're always consuming time. And if you're wasting it, you will never be as good as you could have been if you'd have just put that time in.
Mm. It's like you do Duolingo, don't you?
Yeah.
It's one of those things where if you do 5 minutes a day, like it's better than nothing, but it's never going to get you fluent. Certainly not within a fast period of time. The best way to do it is immerse yourself, go all in, go 100%, try and communicate with someone that knows the language inside out 100% of the time. That is your fast track to, let's say, perfection or high performance, especially. But, you know, even if you don't hit that 100%, like, would you take 99% on most days? That's probably going to add up to a pretty mint life. Like 98%, yeah. But the problem is, like, most people, say, say most people, I don't know whether that's fair, but a lot of people are nowhere even near that. Like, so many people, I think, sell themselves short in terms of physical, mental performance, like their own well-being, their own, like, I don't feel like people value themselves enough to actually care for themselves enough. And that's like that. I think that's something that I struggled with for quite a while because I was like, I'll just sacrifice myself. Don't care. I'll abuse myself to the point where, you know, I am struggling, but I'll take it on, kind of thing. And then you realize that you have to let go of that a little bit to be able to actually perform and do well. Um, anyway, going back to Roger Federer, um, the final bit he says is just to kind of sum up the mindset. He says this mindset, so like the whole when it's behind you, it's behind you. This mindset is crucial because it frees you to fully commit to the next point with intensity, clarity, and focus. And I feel like that sums up day-to-day life as well, doesn't it? Like if you had a shit day yesterday, let it go, move on. Like the only focus, like you say, you only get today once. There's no point dwelling on what happened yesterday. Crack on.
Yeah. One of the big ones that people are starting to resonate with that is going around social media at the moment is um, that age old saying, like, what you focus on expands, which obviously sounds obvious and people know that, but then they, think about their problems, they talk about their problems, they focus on their problems, or they focus on the last point or the last game, which, it's not an issue to think about it or to review it or to analyze it. But when you're dwelling on it or focusing on it, obviously it becomes detrimental because how many times, probably every episode, I probably do everyone's head in every episode, I probably say something about like you are adapting your neurophysiology, like you are, if you are focusing on something that you've done that you think was shit, you are naturally going to take on that and you will start to potentially move like shit if that's what you're focusing on. So it's like, do you remember when we had the SAS guy come to the profit thing?
I do.
He was talking about your brain can't process a negative. This is slightly different, but it ties in. And he was saying about when he was teaching his daughter to be more careful or something. He was saying about don't spill the drink.
Yeah.
He said if you say don't spill the drink, the brain can't think don't spill the drink. It says don't spill the drink, but it's thinking about spilling a drink.
Yeah, because so it's the whole pink elephant thing. Like as soon as you say pink elephant, what comes to mind? What vision pops in your head? The pink elephant pops in your head. So you say don't think about pink elephant. You think your brain has to go, well, what is that? And then you have to go, well, I'll avoid that. And it complicates the whole thought process. Where if you just go, I know what he said, keep the cup level, just focus on keeping the cup level. You don't then have to create more dots by going, don't spill your drink, you go, right, well, don't spill my drink. Spilling my drink looks like this. How do I not do that? And then you're creating a really convoluted pathway to achieving your target. Whereas if you just go, just keep your cup level, simple,
So,
simple, clarity, intensity, and focus. You're keeping that cup as level as you can with 100% intensity and focus. That's what life should be about. We'll keep that cup more level than anybody else.
the levelest cup that ever was.
Zero sloshing.
Good word. Sloshing.
So I think we'll wrap it up there. I think that's a good place to finish. You only get today once. I like that. I wrote that down. You said that. I'm gonna
Chris
quote.
Lenkowski, 2024.
Yeah, I'm gonna quote that on my threads on my Instagram.
So it actually,
Could
just to
you
give
also say that you get today every day?
a cute little backstory to that, I remember, so this was just before I had my ACL reconstruct, and I was sat in one of the hostels in Bury. I don't remember which one it was.
Probably
I was,
fair.
I was with my dad, and I was sat there. We'd been waiting for
Wait,
ages.
did Mum not take you to that? She did everything for us, you know.
You can't say that on a podcast.
Carry on. She says it all the fucking time.
Um,
You sat in
so
hospital.
I
You,
was with my dad.
you sat
I
in
was with
hospital
dad.
with dad.
Okay. And I was lay my leg up, and I was fucking pissed off, man. I'd been sat there all day. I was waiting. I think I'd been waiting. They'd done a checkup and I was waiting like 2 hours after. I couldn't really walk at this point, and this is before the op. Um, and I remember my dad saying, how are you doing? Are you okay?" And I was like, "No, am I okay? Why the fuck would I be okay?" Like, I think I was, what was I, 50? I'm 15. I've been on crutches for the last 3 months. I have to hobble myself to school and hobble myself back. I've been waiting here for 3 hours. It's a sunny day. Like, this is shit. And he was like, "Do you know what, Chris? You're only gonna get," I think it was like June the 17th or something. He's like, "You're only gonna get June the 17th, 2016 once. And the day has done nothing to you. It's whatever's gone on in the day. So I think you should think about that." I remember, and he was saying it as a joke to try and like make the situation a bit more lighthearted. But I actually thought about it. I was like, he's right, actually. I will only get this day once. And if I was writing in my journal or writing in my diary about it, I would have said it was a shit day when actually the day did fuck all to me. It was me just being a miserable bastard. So there you go. That's the backstory. I hope you enjoyed that, everyone.
We'll actually I think we'll talk about that in the next episode because I like I remember back to that time now and you gone through a real convoluted process waiting for the NHS to get back to you, like delays with scans, frustration with appointments, and surgery, no surgery. Like I think you were fucked around a lot. Um, so I'd be quite interested to go into your thoughts on that and dig a little bit deeper into it because I know a few people who have been in a similar situation where that kind of things happen and it's not an easy thing to get through, especially when you are in your own head, unbreakable slash Superman slash capable of anything. So yeah, we will talk about that in the next episode. That'd be a good one, that. Anyway, that wraps us up for 103. You got anything you want to add, Chris?
Peace, love, and protein.
You said that last time. Are you making that a brand?
Could be. Could be.
What was
Could
the
be.
what was the brand that we came up with on our dog walk the other day?
Oh, it was like dog biscuits that are like chicken and gravy flavor. Which, so by the way, okay, last little side note for everyone. Dog biscuits, chicken and gravy flavor. Why the hell have bodybuilders not got onto this? Why are they not making chicken and gravy flavored biscuits for adults? That's all I'm saying. Chicken, delicious. Gravy, delicious. Biscuits, delicious. Like, give them to adults. Anyway, so this is what I was saying. Me being me, Alex being Alex goes, we could make this a thing, monetize it, and call it like not for vegans or something. You found a way to make it somewhat offensive to someone. I don't remember specifically what it was.
I'm gonna have to have a think back because I remember I thought it was quite a good one, but yeah, not for vegans, not suitable for vegans.
Yeah.
Um, I'll have to think back to what it was. But if you're listening and you're thinking of stealing our idea, go away, piss off. We're gonna do the chicken and gravy biscuits.
Yeah. Chicken and gravy biscuits, copyright Alex and Chris Lankowski, 2034.
We've signed it off.
Yeah.
223, 12th of June, hands off
We've
world.
sent across the dragons on Dragon's Den.
Anyway, if you're interested in our chicken and gravy biscuits and you'd like to get a sample, then please email me. Send us an Instagram message. We will hook you up with some chicken and gravy biscuits. Um, that concludes us for episode 103. Thank you very, very much for listening. It's been another good, fun chat and hopefully an interesting, useful episode for you. So try and employ a bit of that Federer mentality the next time you go out to train, the next time you go out to perform, play, win. Focus on winning your one-on-ones. And if that looks like winning 54% of the points or even 51% of the points, or even winning the coin toss, take it. Take everything you can because those winning margins are very, very small and success is very, very brittle and fragile. So treat it carefully and do everything in your everything you can, everything in your power to get the job done, get the win. Peace out. Lenko out.